Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Late Withdrawal Podcast. We're on video. We've tried it 2 times before, but we're actually on video this time, Cam. You've got the scarf on. We've got a Pav jersey up there. We've got a little signed Tim Kelly jersey here. We've got my Eagles jersey over there, and we've got the prize, the Macca's footy. How are you, mate? How are you,
mate? Well, we're recording Wednesday, and it is your birthday, your 21st birthday.
It is my 21st. Thank you.
And what better way to spend it than talking a bit of footy?
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get straight into it, hey. We'll start with the first game of the round, the Thursday night game. People weren't sure if this one would be a close one. It turned out to be a very close game.
Yeah, well, for my tipping, I tipped the Swans by 45 points.
I tipped the Swans by 17.
Yeah, it's my own fault. You always got to go a low margin because you never know what's going to happen in footy these days. But, it was a close game. Really, really close game and a great game. And did you watch much of it, John? Or?
I managed to catch all but the first quarter of it.
Yep.
I am slowly finding myself to be a closeted Sydney Swans fan. I just really love the team they've got at the moment, so I was rooting for them. And because I did tip them, you want to watch and you want to get the tip right. But it was a very close game, especially in the fourth quarter. There was a lot to talk about, really. I mean, Errol Goulden had we don't want to say his worst game, but probably his worst game of the year, and he's still decent. He was still quite good.
I still thought he was good. He's every week he's shown why he's one of the top young guys in the league.
But there's another man coming up behind him which could win the Brownlow. Chad Warner's playing really well. There's 2 weeks in a row now where he sort of outshone Goulden, and we weren't sure at the beginning of the season. Yeah. Goulden looked like the sure chance for rising star. Obviously, there's still a heck of a way to go. But Chad Warner seems to be right behind him on that tail.
Yeah, he's playing a lot through the guts, isn't he? Just getting heavy minutes through there and having a high impact. So he's looking really good. Most of the Swans guys are looking really, really good as well. So it was a good game, and it was youth from both sides as well. So we actually saw Nick Cox. He had a really good game.
Yeah. The Unicorn. Have you heard that nickname?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on
there. It's like Porzingis if you watch the NBA. He's a unicorn, It's because he's one of a kind. He's a rare. He's a 7 foot tall man, that 7 foot tall player that can play any position. He started on the wing, played in the ruck, kicked a great goal.
Yeah, everybody's talking about him now. He was probably unlucky to not win the Rising Star nomination. That was Scholl from Adelaide.
Lucky Scholl.
He had a massive game. He had 31 disposals, a goal, and a lot of kicks out of those 31 disposals. But Nick Cox was really good. Everybody's talking about him. One that I really like is Harry Jones. So not many people are talking about him. Another key forward. He looks really, really
He's
good.
doing well, yeah.
And the other one that's been around a few years now is Ridley. He had a massive game, just tons and tons of marks. And
they've given him the keys to the back line. They said, mate, this is yours. And best and fairest last year, coming off a great season last season. And he did have a slow start, but he seems to be back where he left off last year and in even better form.
Yeah, well, and the thing is as well, is I don't understand why teams don't try to put a bit of attention to the intercept marker. I feel like those sort of players are really important to a team.
Yeah.
And some teams really structure around an intercept marker like a Ridley. He's not going to shut down the best forward or the best couple of forwards in the league, but he will do it in other ways through marking the ball and reading the ball in the air. And I just see, when you've got a team that structures up like that, you should put a bit of attention into him, try to take him out of the game. Make sure that he's not just taking these basically uncontested marks. And I've sort of said it before with McGovern, I feel like a bit of attention needs to go his way.
Yeah.
Could stop the Eagles' backline. But it was a really good game from Ridley. And those young guys from the Bomb as well, that's just as good as the Swans young guys, which was really impressive.
It was a great battle of sort of two teams in the rebuilding, retooling stage at the moment. And Sydney might not be anymore because they are doing well, so I don't know if we can really call them rebuilding, but and Essendon are a rebuilding team.
Yeah, this rebuilding structure, I think the Bombers and the Swans have gone and done the similar structure where they've kept a lot of their old stars, their quality players. The Swans, we always talk about Kennedy and Parker and even Buddy's still around. And then they've got all those young guys coming in, and the Bombers are doing the same.
I think both teams are teams where a lot of not like a lot of their stars and fan favourite best players from the last 10 years are retiring or leaving the club. So they're bringing in new, and there is another club that could take notes from both of these clubs. We might talk about them a bit later. Collingwood. Need to rebuild. Back to this game. It was a great game. Buddy Franklin was on fire. Goal to win it. There was a moment where, who was it? Someone came across. The ball was going to Buddy. He had it in his hands, and someone came across and stole it from Buddy. And that was like with a minute to go, and it's still 2 points. I was like, what are you doing? It's Buddy Franklin. Why are you trying to take the mark from him?
I'm going to say it. I reckon he's the best forward of this generation. And there's no one better. You look at the current forwards right now, some of the ones that are being the best in the league at the moment. I just think Buddy is far, when he was at his peak, and even now, he was far better than any of those guys. Kicked another 3 goals and really dominated, and he's amazing. I think he's
great to see him just back out there.
I'm hoping that he will just continue to kick goals. Hopefully onto next year.
He was saying, the good thing was he was saying that last week was a planned rest for him. So it looks like there will be games where they do choose the plan to rest.
It's always a worry, like when you're resting a player of this quality. I don't know.
It's become more apparent in today's game. There are a few more players you see get rested, especially sort of rucks and big guys, because they do tend to get injuries.
And talking about those Swans, that Swans forward line, it's looking good. Like, just every time we watch the Swans, and they can come, the goals can come from all different avenues. Like, just. You got when Buddy's in there, you got Logan McDonald. Teams are already worried about him. You got Reid, who's another really tall prospect, and then you had one of the best small forwards in the league in Tom Papley, who you're not relying on him like they did last year. They really rely on him. And you
have Isaac Heaney when he is healthy.
He's getting a free ride. Heaney. Nobody's even looking at defending him, and it was really unfortunate because he could have had a massive year in terms of goals, but he's broken his hand.
Heaney this season is already just etched in my mind from the goal against Richmond. We didn't talk about it when we discussed it, but did you see it? 45 out on the paint, wrong foot, snaps it in, banana. Beautiful goal. Like, wrong foot. Oh, it was beautiful. He's done enough for me to be like, great. But we'll talk about that injury a bit later. And it's quite funny because the incident that he did injure himself, he's probably lucky he got injured because he could have copped a suspension. But we'll see how he goes. We wish the best to that.
The Bombers' perspective, what do you think about that? I don't think many people were thinking it was going to be a close game.
Stringer's having a good season so far. 2 games, he's playing really well.
3 goals for Stringer, and he looks really good in that first quarter, and he just looked like he was going to have this massive game, and it could have been real problems for the Swans. It's kind of reined them in. But
the Bombers' perspective, I think it is a shame that they've put together this game because a lot of their gun players have gone out. Obviously, Draper, Caldwell, the big recruit, they've all gone out. They're all going to be out for more than half the season.
So,
and it's just
against those odds, with all those guys out, they still managed to almost beat a team that is now 4-0, and it's like I wasn't expecting it at all. I don't know. It was just. What do you think? Is this more about the Bombers and that was a really good game for the Bombers, or was this possibly that the Swans are going to have those games where they're going to struggle and they're going to lose a few games this year, and they're not going to be a team that is in the top 4? They won the game. They got the 4 points. But is that what you're thinking now?
I think it's a bit of both. I think the Bombers will surprise a few people. Obviously, we saw them absolutely smash Saints last week, and obviously in a close game, no one thought that would be super close. But I think the Bombers are a team where they are always up and down. They have games like this, and this is why they'll always be middle of the table. And I do expect a drop to reality from them. And I think the Swans, this is one of those games where it was their sort of back to earth.
But they also, I guess they were...
But they won.
They won against a team that had a really good game, that played really good footy. But another guy from the Bombers I liked, and I've mentioned him a few times, is Heppel. he's just flying under the radar. He's a great player. A couple of years ago, he was classified as an elite player, and now he's gone down back, new role, and he's doing great stuff down there for them. And and I reckon it helps Ridley as well.
I think both these teams take really good things. And there was the clip. Did you see the clip of Heppel saying we were this fucking close? We were so close to winning.
Yeah.
It was great leadership from him. I thought. They didn't go into the locker room and say, "Damn, we lost." They said, "We were this close to winning. We can win.
Yeah,
we can compete against these teams."
And I think it's these two teams it's that new rebuild of having those old experienced guys with the young guys, and it's really working. And it's the other way was get rid of all your old guys and bring in just a whole heap of youth, and that didn't work. It was Alistair Clarkson Hawks. They won those premierships, and then they just cut off Lewis, cut off Sam Mitchell. They cut off everybody.
The same with
Luke Hodge,
the Crows in a way. A lot of their all the guys, and that wasn't their fault for making them. Well, technically, they went on that camp. No one wanted to be there anymore, so they all left. And we saw them just left with some young guys.
Yeah,
and we saw what happened last season.
It hasn't worked.
No,
it's going to be a long recovery there. So the new rebuild is working for these two teams, and they're exciting to watch.
They are, especially
in a rebuild. You think a rebuild team?
I didn't expect I'd be wanting to turn on Bombers games this season.
North Melbourne's another one that it didn't work. That rebuild where they got rid of Boomer Harvey when he said he wanted to keep playing, even like a Drew Petrie as well, Frito, like all these old guys. They just cut them all down. You don't have to do that anymore. Keep them.
Just
Dave Mundy.
Sydney are an interesting one because a lot of people are already locking them into their top 8, and we did discuss this a little bit last week. I would as well. It's quite interesting. They're a top 8 team at the moment. They're still 4-0.
4-0.
And the next 2 games against GWS and the Suns.
Yeah.
So they could be 6-0. Now, funnily enough, the Bulldogs also have the next 2 games against the Suns and GWS.
All right.
So it's interesting. And then they got the Cats and the D's. So those will be their real test. We've seen them beat Richmond. But they're an exciting team. It'll be really interesting to see if they can hold on to this lead and just make the final. I think, obviously they are coming out, but I think if they make top 8, they'll be happy with the season. I think top 4, mate, you'd be over the moon.
Yeah. I guess it's still early. We keep saying every week a lot can happen. A lot. Finals, so we'll see.
How much does the Heaney injury impact on him? He's played well this season so far, but we'll see. Well, let's move to that Friday night game. We won't spend long on this. Port Adelaide Tigers, got to talk about it. First and second in the regular season. No, was it? Yeah. Yes, I think so. Yeah. Well, 2 top teams, we'll say. 2 top teams. Both coming off embarrassing losses. Great game between great teams, and Port pulled it out by 2 points.
Yeah, it was a close game. Could have gone either way, and it was a game between 2 quality teams, as you said. Just even comparing it to the Thursday night game. The Thursday night game was a great game of footy, but watching a little bit of this game, and it was just that they're another level, these teams, and it's just like incredible intensity straight away. Like first bounce, it was just hard at the footy. And I think these 2 teams, even though they had those embarrassing losses, they're going to be teams that are pushing. I think there's no doubt that the Tigers are quite low on them. They're just in the 8.
I think they're 2 of the top 3 teams in premiership odds.
Yeah.
Baxter Hooley returned. He had a great game. Zach Butters was on one. He was having a great game before the injury, which you hate to see, especially to a young player.
Yeah.
He was putting together an amazing game. Absolutely tore him apart in the first quarter. And so it's a shame to see, but
you have those Port team is a really exciting team.
They're another one of these teams where the rebuilders work.
We've got to talk about Lockie Jones. The mullet had his first game. He's got an
instant cult hero. Yeah. How is that boy 19? How is he younger than us?
Yeah, I know.
He's 19.
Yeah. Another young guy that I really like is Willem Drew, the Sauce. He's got the red hair. He's a really good player. I've liked how he's started the year. Yeah. He was kind of in and out of the team last year when they played all those young guys. And of course, we talked about Butters and Dersma also got injured, which is sad. But they're also young guys that are really exciting to watch.
Yeah.
The Tigers, on the other hand, they're experienced. They're just experience in the big games, in finals games, and just in the regular season as well. We're looking at players like Cochin, Hooley, as you mentioned. Shane Edwards is now 10th most games for Richmond, which is pretty amazing. Dusty is just a big game player. And then, the back line, Asprey and Grimes are experienced players now. Rewalt, very experienced forward. They know what needs to be done in every little situation. They don't make many mistakes, and that's why they're such a good team. But, Portland at the top, exciting footy, just narrowly beat out experienced teams.
Yeah, so 2 losses in a row for Adelaide. No, not Adelaide, Richmond, sorry. And they do have the Saints this week. That'll be an interesting one to watch for sure. But Connor Rosie has also returned for Port, just another one of those young guys I want to highlight, but obviously still coming back from that injury. Hasn't really had the biggest of impact so far this season, but he's an exciting player. I think interesting to see how he goes.
We just need him to kind of fade into the background a little bit.
Well, with Butters out now, there's even more spotlight on him.
Yeah, that's true, because the spotlight has really been on Rosie and how great of a player he is, and he's sort of struggled a little bit over recent periods, but I think he's a real star, and I think at one stage or another he's going to become really step it up and take the game by the neck. So I just wanted to mention free kick differential.
Oh yeah.
So Port had 10 more free kicks.
Oh, so it wasn't free kick Richmond.
No, so Richmond, it was very interesting. Richmond were the lowest. They've had the worst free kick differential.
Did you see that article as well? There was an SEN article, and they're tracking the free kick differential because obviously fans love to talk about it.
Yeah.
And
so do we. We love to talk about it as well.
So it's threes for minus threes against.
Yep.
And Richmond were in the negatives. I know Fremantle were in the negatives.
Yeah.
West Coast were in the positives, I think. But I don't know. I just thought it was interesting, but I do think it's.
I actually think Richmond were dead last, which I couldn't believe. Usually they.
The joke is free kick Richmond.
Yeah. So.
But well, let's move on. We were talking about the Saints. We'll talk about this game. Painful one for me. The Saints versus Eagles. Shocking loss to the Eagles, but what a win for the Saints.
Yeah. Well, what a change from losing by 75 points to a young Bombers side the week before, coming up against an Eagles team that have, just beaten Port Adelaide, one of the premiership favourites, and you just think, this game's going to be, a non-event, and couldn't be more wrong. Yeah, but it was a strange game. It was.
I mean, we had Petrocelli kicking 4 goals. That doesn't happen. But I think the West Coast midfield just had their bad game. I mean, if you go through and you look at the stats on the app, they look, oh wow, lots of disposals. No, they were all turnovers.
Yeah.
They were passing. And I think the amount of times, it'd be funny to sit down and watch, and this goes for Saints as well, the amount of times that someone handballed it directly to an opponent was just, it's more than I've ever seen in the game. But it was a weird game, but the Eagles should never have lost this. They just let it go. I think they got too comfortable.
Yeah, I think you're right, but I do think that...
But I do think a lot of it comes to the Saints. The Saints played well.
Yeah, well, I actually think the Saints won. They won that game. They really
100%.
Did.
The Eagles didn't lose it. The Saints won it.
Yeah, they were really... it's really interesting. They were smashing oppositions. When you look at the stats, and it's hard to just look at the stats and say, this is what happened, but it looks like they were smashing all positions. And the Eagles kicked straight. They didn't miss many goals. The Saints had a lot more scoring shots than the Eagles. But, it was really interesting because the Saints won the disposals, but they also won the tackles as well, which, is an indicator that the pressure is there for a team.
Brad Crouch had an amazing game with his 12 tackles. But it's...
Really, the Eagles can't lose this. They should not lose this game, really.
When you're up 33,
you
shouldn't lose. But I think for both teams, it sort of not defines their season, but shows where they're at. I mean, the Eagles do this every year. They have 2 or 3 of these losses where you look at back and you go, you should have won here, and that's why you're not in top 4. Yeah. And with the Saints, it's just one of these wins from last season that we saw, just the gutsy wins.
Yeah.
They came back Everyone had
it
ruled
puts them
them
back
out.
in the picture as
That's
well
it.
now. Yeah.
Instead of starting what most people could have thought they were starting at 1-5 because of their Port and Richmond over the next 2 weeks, they now got an extra win, which is good. So they can be 2-4. And taking a win off of the Eagles is a big thing. I mean, obviously, as a Freo fan, you don't like to rate them, but they're a good team. They're one of the teams in the mix with Saints for the top 8 positions, and those are the teams you need to get the wins against.
Yeah, well, we're talking last week when the Eagles, beat Port Adelaide, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, the Eagles are going to be one of the premiership favourites now. They've beat Port Adelaide. Yeah. Port Adelaide lost, Richmond lost, Geelong are struggling. Those teams. Who's going to be the team that steps up? Oh, it's going to be the Eagles. And how quickly 1 week in footy can change that. And now Eagles are just going to be another one of the teams that are looking for finals.
They're one of the teams where I think the media will say their ceiling is a premiership. I'd agree, but their floor is just this. It was shocking. They shouldn't have lost. But
from the Saints' point of view, we talked about Dan Butler and the Smalls last week on the podcast, and they really delivered.
I want to talk about this. So, just to go off the Saints game for a bit. Actually, we'll finish the Saints game first. Max King.
Yeah.
I didn't realise that he hadn't kicked 5 goals in a game before.
Yeah, well, he's still super young, I guess.
Yeah, I know, just watching you, I thought they'd kick 5, but he had an insane game.
Like, there's so many avenues to goal when you've got somebody like Max King, just the ball's coming to him, and then everybody else can get on the end of a few as well. So
and they've got these goal-scoring midfielders, as I like to call them.
Right. Yeah.
Jack Steele this season is giving you at least a goal a game.
Yeah.
Billings is giving you a goal a game. They don't obviously overly rely on these key forwards to score. Dan Butler, as you mentioned, scored a few this time, which is good. But I think they are a dangerous team when they're firing, and it's just interesting. But yeah, back to the small forwards. I was thinking about this, and we'll talk about it more in the Golden Flippy Award. But who is the best small forward in the competition, in your opinion? So Dustin Martin is named in forward pocket, but I'm counting him as a midfielder.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I want someone that purely just plays small forward. Someone like a Toby Green, Liam Ryan, Jordan De Goey, one of those type. A Dan Butler, for example. That's such a hard conversation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But it's one you always hear. Who's the best tall forward? I want to know. For me, I think it's Toby Green.
Yeah, well...
I mean, we've seen it over the last 2 weeks. 10 games, 10 goals in 2 games.
Yeah.
But it's just...
Fiery customer, he wants the footy.
He gets it done, doesn't he?
And he can go for the midfield, get a ton of disposals. But I think where he's best is like in the forward line, being really dangerous. And GWS losing Jeremy Cameron needed a new avenue to go, and they got Toby Green.
Yeah.
It's easy but I'm going to say to you, John, that it is easy to say that Toby Green's the best small forward in the league after he's kicked 5 goals.
Yeah, so, but
whether he can, he can. I'm pretty confident.
And I don't want to just look at goals as well. So someone like a Liam Ryan, for example, he's not a 5 goals a game guy. Yeah. He does so much more for the team. And that's a Dan Butler as well. He does more for the team than just kick goals. So this small forward, it's a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
But I might put a poll, or we might put something out there on Instagram.
I'll put my one out as well.
Yeah, who's yours?
You mentioned, and some people don't like him, but I think he's a real star. Tom Papley.
Yeah,
he's the number. I reckon he's the number 1 pressure small forward. When he first came into the league, his pressure was amazing. Like smothers, just tackling, run down tackles in the forward line, locking the ball in. He's been the Swans' main man on forward for a while, and this is the first year that he hasn't had to be that. So I reckon it's great. He can do
with Gary Ablett retiring, there is that gap, isn't there, for someone to come in. Charlie Cameron hasn't played well. He was the best small forward for the last 2 seasons, you would say.
Yeah.
Who else is there? Cozzy Pickett's coming up through the ranking. He's still very young, but I think he has a chance.
Yeah,
there's
a bit more to prove.
So we'll put a poll out. Who is the best small forward? And we'll revisit it next week, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it's an interesting conversation. But how about we move on to Cam's Corner? You've got a few more players to present to us this week?
Yeah, I've got a few more. I'll go through this a bit quicker this time, but we'll start off with Essendon, and there's a player that I've already mentioned, that's Harry Jones.
Yeah.
So, again, if you're listening to the podcast and you happen to be watching a Bombers game, keep your eye out for him. He's a 194cm key forward. But the thing is he's got the great speed and agility.
Comes up the ground.
Which is so, it's a massive thing for the key forwards these days. You know, a lot of the time, even before we were watching footy, the key forward stayed in the goal square and just let out, 20 metres, and that's all they had to do. These days, you can't get away with that. You've got to be versatile. You've got to be able to get it off the ground. And I'm not saying that those forwards couldn't pick it up off the ground. They were pretty good below their heads, but it's a different game. You need a lot of different skills. And he was the first Bombers pick in the 2019 draft at pick 30. Had a few injuries last year, so when they were in the lockdown situation, so he couldn't get out on the park, and it was his first game to start the season, and in round one, and he's been really good. He's only kicked 3 goals, I think, over the first 4 games, but I've liked what I've seen from him. Now onto my team, the Dockers, and it was actually my first game that I've actually got to see live was the Dockers Hawks game, and I was really happy with the Dockers' performance, considering, and one of the key positions that everybody's looking at the Dockers is defence right now. Yeah, and we've got a lot of injuries, and when you're watching the game and you look at the back line, you're like, oh god, well that's a shock. It's a shocking back line right now.
Well, you go, wait, who's that?
So one of those guys is Heath Chapman.
Oh yeah, I love Heath. He's very
so
well.
if I think a lot of people that listen to the podcast might, based in WA and would see the Dockers and the Eagles, and a young up-and-comer is Heath Chapman. Again, he's tall. He's 192 centimetres, like really, really tall. Pick 14 in last year's draft. Pretty much, it took him only a couple of weeks to break into the side with injuries. And he's actually changed from a genuine lockdown defender in his juniors days, and in that last year of juniors, he became that more interceptor.
Kicked his first goal on the weekend?
Yeah, it was, and off the back of a interesting free kick, which was, I think the guy was later fined for tripping Fife, I think. Was that one? I think so. Anyways, he looks really composed for a young guy. He's done a few good things, and he's got a long way to go. Don't get me wrong, but he's one to watch out for. And so he came from West Perth. He was the captain of the West Perth Colts team, and he won the best and fairest. So that's why he got that pick 14. And he'll get plenty of opportunities now.
It's good to see, because there's been a lot of talk in recent weeks about Freo's drafting, how they don't draft WA players.
Yeah.
But he's a WA boy, and I think he's here to stay. I think he's a very good draft pick for them, and I think he's going to be a great player.
Yeah.
Now, your next player you have, I absolutely love. So go ahead.
Yeah. So Geelong is a guy that, if you don't really know the Cats, you probably don't know who he is. Tom Atkins. So it's really interesting. He had 25 disposals on the weekend, so he had a really good game in the best of the Cats team. And he's got a really interesting story. Like, even myself, I don't really know a lot about his backstory, and he was a mature age recruit for Geelong, but he got overlooked in 2 drafts and played in the Geelong VFL team. So he was then picked up in the rookie draft in 2019, and so he's been a great player in the VFL. He was 2-time Geelong VFL best and fairest. And in 2016 and 2018, and he was playing that real inside mid, he tackles really well. And how about this for a stat? In the VFL in those days, he had 12 tackles in a quarter. 12 tackles in a quarter. So that was the second most tackles in a quarter in any competition in Australia. So that was like amazing. So that records stats, obviously. 12 tackles in a quarter. And pretty amazing. Now, he's playing a little bit more forward, but also going through the midfield of the Cats, because obviously they're a strong midfield. So Tom Atkins came in 2 years ago for the Cats, and it was this half forward, and he's been in the team ever since. The only times he's been dropped is when he's been injured. And he's a beast. As you mentioned, the tackles, that's what he's there for, just tackling. Now, a lot of people criticise he doesn't do anything but that, but he's in there for tackling.
And the last 2 seasons he's playing in the half forward, and this year they've transitioned him back into a half back, and he is playing so well. He's one I had my eye on in the preseason game versus the Bombers. He just played really well, and he just racks up the ball. And I think he's just a smart player.
Yeah.
He's very well loved around the group. You're spot on with the player to watch. I think he's one which not many people would know.
Yeah.
But he's thriving in this half-back role now, and he's an integral part of that Geelong team.
Yeah, big raps from John there, so keep your eye on Tom Atkins.
Keep your eye on Tom Atkins, yeah.
And then finally I'm going to go to Gold Coast. There's a few guys in there that obviously they're a lower-ranked team still. And one guy that I want to talk about is Sam Flanders, who's been struggling to get a game regularly. He has actually played a few games this year, so he's a mid that can play forward and kick goals. And he was in the same draft as Rowland Anderson. So obviously Rowland Anderson pick 1 and pick 2. And then pick 11, so very high draft pick, was Sam Flanders. So very highly touted junior.
Yeah.
But he's been struggling to get a game. But he's got the potential. He's really got that potential.
Yeah, he was the emergency sub on the weekend, I know that.
Right, yeah. And I think, did he come in?
He did come in. I can't remember for who, but he came in and played in the last quarter.
Yeah, so another one that, we don't really know that much about him because he hasn't played enough footy, but he's got the potential to become that real star, and Gold Coast are going that way with all the young players. So maybe if he can, sort it out, playing in the twos, get some games under his belt, he could be the one that maybe takes that step up in the next 2-3 years.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for him as well. And that's pretty much it for Cam's Corner.
Well, that's good then. We've got 4 more teams, we've got a few more next week.
Harry Jones, Heath Chapman, Tom Atkins, and Sam Flanders.
Yeah, names to remember. Watch out when they do win Brownlows. I hope you get credit for that. But we'll move on to the awards. We'll start with the Nuffy of the round. An interesting one, and 2 of these moments came from the same game. So we have Dimmer forgetting Samson's Ryan's name. We have Hutto saying the F word live on TV after a goal. And we have Nat 5 kicking 0 goals, 6 behinds.
Yeah.
Not one you normally see from the Brownlow medalist.
Yeah, well, again, I said that I went to that game, and it was in the last quarter as well. He got out open, kind of running around to his left, straightened to go back on his right. Pretty much had, open goals there. Could have just run in a little bit further if he wanted to, and shanked the kick a bit, kicked it behind. But
he came out after the game and practiced his goal kicking go.
Yes. But I'm going to say he was amazing.
Great game.
It was when I went to that first game, it made me realise how good of a player he is, and how people aren't talking about him enough. I know he gets talked about a lot, but he is one of the top players in the league.
Yeah,
simple as that.
He is.
And it was just funny to see him kick that 0 goals. It's ridiculous. Funny
that you say that, because he has won nothing around. You don't see someone kick 0 goals, 6. This one's for all of you sports your bettors out there that had a anytime goal scorer on Nat 5 or 1 goal Nat 5.
Yeah, in your multi,
would have ruined your weekend on your last day. He had a great game though, but we've got to give him that. 0 goals, 6.
I wouldn't be laughing if we lost the game, to be honest.
Yeah, no,
at least we won the game.
Shocking. So that's Nuffy of the round. He joins elite company with North Melbourne's shenanigans.
Yeah. There's been some good ones anyway.
There's been some really good Nuffy moments so far, but we'll move on to the Golden Footy Award. We got the Footy here. Let's get into it. We've got, first up, the man we've already discussed, Toby Green.
Yeah.
5 goals, 1 behind, 18 disposals, 4 marks, 4 tackles, 1 goal assist, and 8 score involvements. Just overall great game. Tore Collingwood apart.
Yeah, unexpected win really for the Giants, and Collingwood were in a bit of trouble, but Toby Green was best on ground for that game, and GWS, they've still got some great
interesting
players.
team to watch, I think.
They've still got some great players, but they're also down the bottom of the ladder as well.
Next, we have Brad Crouch, who was a key part in St Kilda's win over the Eagles. He had 26 disposals, 3 marks, 12 tackles, 1 behind, 15 contested possessions, and 6 clearances. So a huge part in that midfield.
Yeah, a big win for the Saints, as we already mentioned before.
Yeah. And then, last but not least, we have Nat Fyfe, 30 disposals, 3 marks, 5 tackles, 6 behinds, but 11 score involvements.
Yeah.
Just a great game, despite being the Nuffy of the round.
Nuffy of the round and the nomination.
Yeah.
Could he win it? Well,
who knows? But, no, he doesn't. Toby Green's got to take this one.
I think he does.
It's just... He put the same, probably the same performance in against the Demons last week, but obviously didn't win the game. But he wants to win. He wants to tell people, we're not that bad as you think, and I think they might be. But it's just a great game, really. Yeah, dominant.
Yeah, he's going to be up forward for the rest of the year now, I think.
Yeah. Let's see. So who's he got coming up? They have the Swans, the Dogs, the Crows, and the Bombers. So it'll be an interesting one to watch there.
Yeah, there's a few winnable games in there for the Giants. See if they can turn their season
still
around.
Got Kim Taranto's on the tear.
If they win 3 of those, that would be massive. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how they go from there. But let's move to a new segment that we've brought in. Okay, so welcome to the AFL Stock Market, Cam. It's a new segment and there's a little bit of maths involved with this one.
Yeah, well, I'm pumped about this. My finance background at uni could help me here, so we'll see how we go.
It's a fun little one that I've taken from another show I watched. But basically, we have obviously, I've taken the ladder. We've got Bulldogs first, the current ladder, and North Melbourne 18th. And I've given each. So if you're first, you're worth $18. One stock is worth $18. If you're last, your one stock is worth $1.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to each get $20, and I've given you your next 4 games, and we're going to put our money into some stocks and see how they go. And so every 4 weeks, we'll come back and have a look. If the team has risen up the ladder, you earn money, so you buy more stocks. But if your team falls down the ladder, you lose money. So you've got to be really smart about this. We both started with $20, and Cam, do you want to explain who you've gone with first?
Yeah, okay. So one team that should definitely be higher was Brisbane. They're third last. So
they're currently 16th.
They're at $3.
Worth $3.
So I think what have I done? I've gone 3 Brisbane stocks.
Yep. So Brisbane over their next 4 games are finally returning back to the Gabba.
Yeah.
They've got the Bombers this week. Then they're back in Melbourne versus the Blues, then they're versing Port at home, and then they're away at Optus versus Freo.
Yeah,
so very winnable games.
Yeah, and look, if they win one of those games, they might go up the ladder there. So I think it's a pretty safe bet. But you got to diversify a bit with your portfolio.
Yeah.
There. So I've gone heavy on Brisbane 3 stocks, so that'll be
3 stocks in Brisbane.
$9. So we're doing a total of $20. That's right, isn't it? And
$9 worth of Brisbane stocks.
I was tossing up. Then I wanted a bit of a mid-cap stock, somebody in the middle that could potentially go up into that top 8 or even higher. I was looking at the Tigers, who obviously are a great team and are sitting at 8th currently. But the team that I've gone for is Geelong.
And
so they're getting their stars back. They're getting Dangerfield. Rowan's coming back.
Cameron should debut next week.
Jeremy Cameron, that's huge. So they're at
Geelong. So
currently.
They are currently 10th. On the ladder, $9 worth. If you do watch the video, there will be some graphics about, so it'll be probably easy to follow. But you're gonna buy Geelong stocks of $9.
Yeah, so I'll buy one Geelong stock, which puts my total up to $18.
$18. So, but their next 4 quickly versus North Melbourne this weekend. Back at GMHBA for 2 games against North Melbourne and the Eagles, and then they go to the SCG to versus the Swans, and then the MCG to versus the Tigers. So.
Yeah, it's tough for the Cats there, but I think they're a team that could really go up. They're
getting their main players back.
Yeah.
They're an interesting team. But you still got $2. Where are you going to put that?
Yeah, all right. So $2. I could go one Hawthorn stock or 2 North Melbourne stocks. I'm going to North Melbourne.
2 North Melbourne stocks. They can't be as bad as they have been.
Yeah, so they probably will be, to be honest.
So North Melbourne go to GMHBA to versus the Cats, then they come over to Optus to versus Freo, then they go down to Tassie to versus the Demons, and then they're at home versus the Pies. So an interesting schedule, but I do think there are a few winnable games in there for the Kangaroos.
Yeah. So the Kangaroos will say, and they can't get any worse. So
No.
that's why I put some
No, they
money
can't. Well, I somewhat copied you. I went with 3 stocks for Brisbane, so we'll start with that. $9, as you said. They're too low.
They're way too low.
They're way too low. So I'll take them. But then I've also gone for a Richmond stock. So Richmond are currently sat in the 8th spot, and they are worth $11. But they don't leave Victoria for the next month.
Yeah,
they've
got pretty standard for the.
They've got the Saints at Marvel, then the D's at the MCG, then and then the Dogs at Marvel, and then the Cats at the MCG.
Yeah, so
after 2 losses, they've fallen down the ladder.
Yeah,
and I think they probably go into most of these games as favourites. It's going to be very interesting month, but I could also see them losing every single one. So I've taken a bit of a risk here. Well, say that, but they are Richmond. But I just expect Richmond to be rocketing up the ladder. I think 8th is too low for them.
Yeah, fair enough.
But yeah, so we'll just recap. So I've got 1 Richmond stock and 3 Brisbane.
I've got 3 Brisbane and 1 Geelong, and also 2 North.
2 North Melbournes you're not too sure about. Yeah, you took them over to Hawks though. That's a lot.
I think after the 4 weeks I'll be selling off the North.
So we'll come back. Yeah, we'll come back in 4 weeks and we'll see where this goes, and we'll rebuy into new teams and see where they're going into the season. But let's move on to Around the Ground. Around the ground, we'll be looking at a lot of injuries once again, sadly. I'll run you through a few of them. If I miss any, Cam, feel free to bring them up. We have Butters, syndesmosis. There's no timeline on his return yet. Dersma has done his knee. He's out for 12 to 14 weeks.
Yeah, tough for the young player.
Yeah, especially he did his hammy as well last season. We have Stephen May, 2 to 4 weeks with a fractured or broken eye socket. I wasn't sure which one, but it looked super bad. Yeah, go onto the AFL app, and I think it's the first photo on there at the moment. Or don't. We have Isaac Heaney with a broken hand. That's 2 to 3 weeks, which is for a broken hand.
Yeah.
2 to 3 weeks. I just found it shocking.
Yeah.
I just thought it'd be out for even longer, but I guess not. Hearn is out with the calf for 2 to 3 weeks. He has to wait to get the most games played for the Eagles. Caleb Daniel has been suspended. And then the other big one was Taylor Adams is out for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
Shocking for the Pies. They're without a midfield at the moment. Did I miss anyone there?
Yeah, I think you got most of them. There's probably another couple.
But those are the big ones.
Yeah.
We have, as you said, Rowan and Danger are returning to the Cats this weekend, both coming off their suspensions.
Yep.
But Jeremy Cameron is a week away, they said. They said he is able to play, but why risk him against North Melbourne?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's probably fair enough.
Bring him into the Eagles, and not going to want to watch that game where he comes back to the Eagles.
Yeah.
But
a few that I had.
Go around.
So, just looking at the scoring, everybody's, looking at the new rules. How's the scoring going? This week we had 2 teams crack the 100. Nobody cracked 110 plus.
Yeah.
So, low scoring round.
Yeah.
So, that's just one to look out for. And this is something that I've been meaning to bring up, and I keep forgetting to bring up on the podcast. All right, there's 2 things. First of all, the banners.
They need to return.
Like, I'm annoyed. Like, this is
they need to be back.
The banners is a unique part of AFL footy, and they've just, I don't know why.
And when they take a crack at like the other team as well on them, it's so good.
Players and fans are interacting regularly now, so I don't see why the fans can't go onto the field, especially if you're at the WA.
It's actually true. We've had so many milestones in the last few weeks as well, and it's like they're not running through banners. You don't get the photo.
Listen, they're kind of going to that like American football style with like a few like fireworks shooting off, or
No, we want the banners. We bring them back.
And something else that maybe a lot of people haven't really noticed is the socks. Have you noticed this?
No.
No, here we go. So
What?
the AFL socks, keep your eye out this weekend. This is huge news here.
Okay.
The socks are shorter. The AFL socks are shorter. So a lot of players have decided, and like this is the majority of players, have decided to change their socks, or they've been given these new socks, and they basically go not even halfway up your calf,
Oh.
like just real short ones. There's a few players that wear the long socks, and it's quite often the ruckman who need them because they've got like a shin pad on or something. One person I noticed was Buddy, had the long socks. I guess just he's an older player, and he's like, I'm not wearing these short socks, I want the big ones. But have a look out for it. They've got these tiny little socks, and it's just it's not right.
That's one to look out for.
It's not right. Bring back the old socks, I say.
We want socks and banners, and we want them now.
Yeah, that's pretty much my around the grounds, anyways.
No, well, that's good. Well, I didn't notice the socks actually.
Yeah.
I tend to watch the footy, not the socks. but yeah, that's going to do it for around the ground. We'll move on to kicking time. Now you're still up 5-3.
Yeah.
You split the weekend again 1-1.
Yeah.
You're still up from that stupid first week that I just can't. But there's a few games, close games this week. We've got a good weekend of footy, I think.
Yeah.
So a few of the games this week, we've got Saints versus Tigers, we've got the Eagles versus the Pies, Dogs versus Suns, Swans versus Giants, we've got the Sydney Derby, first derby of the season.
Yep.
Then we've got the Blues versus Port, the Lions versus the Bombers, the Crows versus Freo, Hawks versus D's, and Geelong versus North. We'll start with the Swans versus Giants. I'll take the Swans.
Yeah, alright, well, the Giants had a big win. I'll take the Giants.
I'll take the Giants
last week.
Toby Green.
Yeah, Toby Green.
Another 5 goals, 15 goals in 3 games.
That's what's going to be needed. But for me, I'm not really sure who I'm going to pick, but I'm going to go the Dockers. You know, they're playing the Crows. The Crows are not that great a team, so I think the Dockers actually should win that, and I'll be disappointed if they don't.
They haven't won at Adelaide Oval in I don't know ages.
Yeah, well.
Really? So it'll be an interesting one to see.
Yeah, it's tough at Adelaide, but I don't know. I just think the Dockers are a better team.
I'd back them in. I think it's going to be a close game.
Griffin Logue, I'm hoping he'll be back. That'll be massive for the Dockers. Keep going with
that's it.
I'll go with the Dockers. So, yeah.
All right, so I'll have the Swans and Crows, the 2 home teams, and you'll have the Giants and Freo, the 2 away teams.
Yeah.
But that's going to do it for today's Late Withdrawal podcast, guys. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe on YouTube now, because we're going to be on YouTube. Yeah. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at the Late Withdrawal Podcast. Don't forget to leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts. We might go through some reviews if you leave any. If there's some fun ones, we'll go for them. Don't forget to follow us on TikTok. We're going to be uploading more clips now that we are in video. And thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you